Hey y'all, so I just want to make a really quick tutorial on how I learned how to use arrow left and why I think it's so beneficial. So obviously I'd heard about the use of arrow left, just holding it down, a constant arrow as some people call it, etc. But I had heard Astral say things like, "Oh, well, you can't be the best unless you use arrow left." And so you see pros like Gimmick, Squishy holding down arrow left in the air and just constantly spinning, and you're like, "How the hell are they doing that?" And so I kind of struggled through this on my own, and I just want to make a video real quick about how you can learn to do it yourself. So the real reason why it's so effective is because it allows you to pitch your car as in forward, back, left, right while spinning. Which is, if you just use the arrow button, then all you can do is arrow and you're not going to be able to adjust the pitch. And that'll let you get your nose on the balls and make touches that are just otherwise unavailable. And so this really just adds a whole new level to the game that wouldn't be there without it. So anyway, how I learned was, initially I began with just arrow, just holding the arrow button and moving back and forth. I'd see players go for arrows like that, and I was like, okay, makes sense, go for the ball and then adjust slightly where you need to make the touch. Makes sense. And then by the time I was high diamond, low champ, I had begun to spin a little. I'd make a single spin to adjust in the air, and I noticed that allowed me to change my momentum without breaking my speed or my boost. So instead of going here and then switching back there, I realized I could adjust that way and keep my speed, keep my momentum, and get better angles on the ball. Hey yo, this is Bonez editing in post. I realized I didn't mention how you actually adjust in the air. So while you're holding arrow, if you pull it back diagonally and to the left, then you'll turn left, and if you do back and diagonally right, then that'll allow you to adjust your car to the right. That'll get you started, and you can figure it out from there. And so I'd started off by first going into training packs. I believe this pack is specifically for double touches, but it has a lot of balls that are just high in the air. So any pack you know of that has aerials that are high in the air, I would just go from and just do a single aerial and try and make contact with the ball. A lot of practice because I'm so used to aerial left now, but that'll teach you how to adjust your car in the air and start to get the feel for how you can adjust your car while spinning. And so I'd start to do these, and then I would also notice that if I go into free play, and Bacchus mod is a big help, but I would notice that if I would jump for a ball, I could sometimes get too far under it, and then I couldn't get back to it. And so I would start to just take off and do a spin right out of the gates, and that would give you a lot of control on the takeoff. And then now you can air dribble, right? So again, these are just uses for it, and where I first found myself using this spin, and where you could maybe learn to do it. And then the place that really helped me was in the workshops. So the workshop map that I learned to use it on was right here, Speed Jump Rings 3 by DMC. Shout out to DMC, does a bunch for the workshop community. But since then, Lethemir released this Giant Rings map, and I believe this is probably the best map to practice your aerial training. And so I would start off by just doing single spins, like I said, to adjust. Just one spin. That way you can keep your speed and your momentum going in the right direction. and then I would start to maybe get 2 spins in, and then I'd have to break and adjust, right? And then by the time you're really comfortable with that, by the time you're comfortable with one, you kind of learn, and then once you can do one into another one, then your brain starts to make those connections where you can understand how to air roll through continuously and make adjustments without those. Like, I'm not really thinking when I hold air roll left, I'm not really thinking about the adjustments I'm making. My brain just understands, hey, I want to go this direction, and so it knows to make those touches. Knows to make it here. And again, this is when you hold air roll left, it's the best way to adjust. And then you just start implementing it into your game. So when you go to air dribble, now you can get up under it and pitch it up as you air roll, versus doing other things. I mean, the uses for it are pretty much anything you do in the air could be made better with the air roll right. You make a quick adjustment, there it is. I mean, it's just another degree of maneuverability in the air that just puts you on a different level if you're playing against people that don't know how to do it. And then again, I would just go back to these maps, to the training once I felt I had a good enough control. And you know, once you really commit to it, and like I said, if you've been doing the single flip adjustments with just air roll and whatnot, it really only took me a couple of days, maybe an hour or 2 a day, to really get comfortable using air roll left. Now we gotta go over bindings, which are kind of the worst thing ever, but just really quick, the bindings I use, I play semi-claw, or whatever you want to call it, where I use my middle finger on the triggers, and then my index fingers on the bumpers, and so I have air roll left, or I have air roll, just the air roll button on L1, and then I have air roll left on square for PS4, which is what I use, and I believe it's X for Xbox. So that's what I bind. I know people have bindings where they'll put air roll left on left bumper and then air roll right on right bumper, etc. Just whatever's really comfortable for you. Ultimately, I like to put it on my thumb just because I can afford to, once I double jump off the ground, I don't need my hand, or I don't need my thumb for anything else because I boost on right bumper. So just whatever works best for you. And like I said, this is what all the pros are using. This is definitely a place where a lot of people are heading. I saw Jesse doing it on his stream the other day. So yeah, there's a tutorial. That's how I learned it, at least. Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.